2. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Do not judge. It's a very direct and concise instruction from Jesus here. Judge, in the Greek, it's krino. It means to call into question and then to assess and distinguish and decide. It means to conclude and decree about matters and make pronouncement about right and wrong, good or bad, consequence or reward. To judge is to assume that role of judging as you go in your life with people and circumstance in the world all around you. To, as you go in your world, assume the role of being able to assess and decide rightness and wrongness, wisdom or folly, and belief and behavior of those around you. And to judge is to be happy to be the one to take position, to be able to decree and pronounce over others what the judge has concluded and what the judge says is right and wrong. As I speak it out like that, it sounds a bit laughable, doesn't it? Is there anyone here who can humbly recognize within themselves that sometimes in the fray of life, we actually find it a bit easy to slip into the role of becoming a little bit judgy? I do this on the road all the time. Especially on morning school drop-off when I'm running late for work and the morning hasn't gone well. I mean, I generally like to think myself as a good and polite driver. So there's a point on the way to school in the morning where there's a merge that comes in from the left. And I do the right thing. I leave room for one. And then there's always that second one that jams it up beside that one that I've left room for and just starts to, well, the judge is on. Oh, do you think you can just push up there like that, do you? Yeah, well, my nose is in front. That's wrong. You have to yield. That's bad driving. Bad driving. And I shake my head like this. I hope they're looking in the rear view mirror to see that because they need a good judge. And then I judge them. Oh, pushy, arrogant, probably narcissistic, aren't you? Yes. You don't think of anybody else in your world, and then I judge what they think of me. And you think I'm nothing. What? I'm just not even here. You can just move on over. And this is the judging that can go on. We do have a little bit of a tendency to get judgy. I get judgy when I think someone's having a swipe at my beliefs in the world. I get judgy when I feel like I'm getting judged. And when I get judgy, I'm pronouncing my conclusions. I'm powering over others. I'm wanting to control. I'm wanting to bring about an outcome by the use of power. It is just such an incredibly direct and distinct instruction from Jesus. We just can't dodge it. There's no qualification on it. It's everyone. It's all the time. Don't judge. You can't soften that. Jesus says don't do it. So if you catch yourself in judge mode, stop. If you're planning to judge, if you're monologuing your speech in preparation, if you are drafting your email, ready to send, delete it, because you can't dodge these words from Jesus. Do not judge. And I don't know if you noticed, this is not only a direct and concise instruction from Jesus here, it is coupled with a warning from Jesus here. Do not judge, or you will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. There's a grace part of the gospel of the kingdom of Jesus that says we actually don't experience in Jesus the judgment from him that we might display towards others in our life. That's grace. We get forgiven for that. And Jesus, thankfully we don't receive the measure from Jesus with which we often measure out to others because he's gracious and he's forgiving. We get his better measure when we turn to him and believe. That's the gospel. And you can't dispense with that. I don't think this is a strong instruction to not judge, coupled with the warning. I don't think this is like a threat or a fear-based coercive control type thing from Jesus to scare us. I think Jesus is doing something else here. I think this is a compassionate, revelatory warning for us because I think Jesus is wanting us to know something that will happen to us if we choose the mode of judge in going about our lives. I want to paraphrase this verse for you today, but this time I'm going to lift the lens that it's Jesus threatening judging us if we judge. And I want you to imagine, what if Jesus is grabbing your attention today and compassionately saying, there's something about judging. There's something about judging you've got to know, or it's not going to be good. Do not judge, because if you live by that mode, you too are inevitably going to be judged under your own judgment. For if you play the judge in the same way that you judge others, you'll have no option but to come under your own judgment. And with the measure you use, if you're the judge in your life, then that's inevitably the measure you will use toward yourself as life comes around, and it's not going to be good. My own judgments judged me. Jesus says in this passage, do not judge, or you too will be judged. Not because he's going to judge us for our judging, but because we will. He says, for in the same way you judge others, you'll be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you, because he wants us to know if we choose to be the judge in our lives and in our worlds, eventually it'll come back around and we will find ourselves under our own judgment. And it's going to be far harsher than what he would ever treat us. In my pastoral work, in my supervision work, I sit with a lot of people week in, week out who are facing seriously complicated and difficult situations that are hard enough on their own. And then on top of that, I also hear how they are getting beaten up by applying their own judgments to their situations that they've had for years. And it's really tough. That's why Jesus says, do not judge.